Good morning. Welcome to NewsWare's Trade Talk for Friday, May 1st. Okay, let's get into the action. Take a look at the S&Ps, which are trading higher. We're up 0.37%. It's a nice move higher. It's showing that the sentiment is remaining strong. You look on an international front, it was mostly closed. It was a very quiet session because of the Labor Day holidays that are going on internationally. So we're having a little lighter volume over there than normal. Energy markets, I mean, they're we had a big day yesterday. I mean, crude bounced back from, the bounced around yesterday. We started off really strong at 4-year highs. Then we pulled back and finished lower. I mean, it was a very volatile session. And today, we're going to see some additional volatility, I'm sure, in the oil prices. There's a report out there that President Trump will not be seeking congressional authorization on Iran. And his point is, that there's a ceasefire in place. I don't need to do this. So, there is some truth to that. Iran is out there, and they indicated that, their nuclear and missile capabilities are essentially a red line for them. They don't want any restrictions there. However, there is talk that a new peace accord from them could be released at any time. Could happen today, could happen over the weekend. So we got to keep that in mind. On the economic front, today, the key economic report coming out is the ISM manufacturing PMI data that's due out after the opening bell. Today, that's the good one that's going to be watched closely. In corporate news, listen, it's all about Apple. Apple delivered a strong earnings report yesterday, did a major buyback. There was some negativity, but overall the report was very positive. What else do we have? Viva Systems, ticker VEEV. They're going to be added to the S&P 500 on Thursday, May 7th. Berkshire Hathaway, they got that shareholders meeting coming up. That's always newsworthy. But on the earnings front, we got to take a look at these companies that have released earnings. You got Apple, you got Roku, you got Reddit, you got Chevron, you got Exxon, you got Clorox, you got Estee Lauder and Moderna. They're all trading higher. Whereas in Roblox, WDC, they're trading a little lower this morning. Monday morning, Monday next week's a big week for earnings. We still got a lot of earnings coming out. And Monday morning, you got Lowe's, you got Tyson Foods, you got CNA, you got Awesome Therapeutics, you got Norwegian Cruise Lines, all scheduled to report Monday morning. Then we're taking a look at the action overseas, and the DAX is closed. I mean, they had a good day yesterday, up over 1.41%, but today the markets are closed for Labor Day. And same with the CAC in Paris, that's also closed. But the FTSE is open today, and it's down, about 0.6%. The financial stocks are causing that index to move lower. One of the big financial banks released earnings that were not great, and that's causing those stocks to fall and the index to go with it a little bit. But the volumes are very low. Last night in Asia, we saw the Nikkei jumped 0.38%. That's 228 points. But that's not really the whole story, because the upside was really capped. As the Japanese yen looks like there was done some intervention last night. We're suspecting that there is some official intervention in the yen yet last night, which produces caution in the Japanese equities. I mean, because the stronger yen tends to weigh on export sectors such as autos and electronics. The market was up, but when you're raising the yen, that's going to cause exports to fall, and so the gains were kind of capped. But Hong Kong, the Hang Seng, and China, the Shanghai markets, they were both closed. China's closed through May 5th actually, and then we're turning our attention over oil, and oil is mixed. I mean, WTI is down 0.7%. Brent, is at $111.21, $111.21, where Brent's at 104.36. Brent's trading a little higher. Crude oil's West Texas trading a little lower. They were both higher, but we'll see if those gains are going to come back or if the weakness continues throughout the day. But Trump's got no really good options in terms of Iran. He's not going to go into Congress and address Congress looking for approval. And the 60 days is up, so he either has to do it or remove the troops. And he's saying there's a ceasefire in place, so I don't have to do anything. which is partially true. So he'll get away with that. If Iran does come out with a peace proposal, that would be negative on oil prices. But when we hit over $90 a barrel, it's hard for oil to continue at that range, and it typically wants to go lower after hitting 100. After hitting these big highs yesterday overnight. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we see some continued weakness there in oil. Okay, let's get into it. And let's get into earnings action. We got to start off with Apple, which is up 3.42% this morning. They beat by 7 cents, and they did it on higher revenue. Revenues were up 17%. I mean, that was a nice report. Then we got to look at shares of Roku, which those guys beat by 22 cents on higher revenue. That stock's up 7.63% in the pre-market. Wow, nice one. Monday morning, you got Lowe's due out. Monday morning expected move is 4.27%. Tyson Foods, TSN, their EPS is 76 cents. Expected move is 6.45% when they release Monday morning. In terms of economic reports, 10 a.m. we get the ISM Manufacturing Index. 1 p.m. we get the Baker Hughes rig count. But yesterday's data was really, interesting. I mean, the jobless claims, they really surprised to the downside. I mean, you got to remember, markets are expecting a reading of 212. Instead, it came in at 189, a drop of 26,000 from the previous week. That was a big drop. And then the GDP data grew by 2%, which is good, but it was lower than the 2.2% expectations. Then, of course, you had the PCE data, which rose 0.7% month over month, which was in line with forecast. But the annual acceleration was 3.5% from 2.8%. It shows that the elevated energy prices are really hitting the PCE. Now, the problem with the PCE is we got a new Fed chair coming in, Kevin Warsh, and he believes in what is called a trimmed mean, which takes out the highest and lowest parts of this reading, which will then really show that show that inflation isn't as bad as it is on the PCE data, on the overall core PCE. So I don't know what to expect, but I mean, when you start messing with these numbers, you're not dealing with the same baseline barometer that the market has been using, and you're kind of fooling it a little bit. And I saw that, years ago when they changed the initial jobless claims. If you're looking for work for more than 6 months, you're no longer included in the numbers, and that was the big change back 20 years ago. And they're going to be doing this change with using a trimmed mean for the PCE for the next foreseeable future. We'll see if that sticks or if it goes back to what we've been using for the last few years. Okay, what do we get? We're talking about FANG stocks, and we got to start off with Apple, because Tim Cook did warn that higher memory prices are going to be reflected in the second half of the year. But right now, the stock's trading higher. Amazon, you're seeing price targets being raised across the board. Meta, they sold $25 billion worth of investment-grade bonds, which was announced. Elon Musk, Tesla, his compensation for 2025 surpassed $158 billion. Wow. Now we're talking about Dow Jones 30 stocks, and we want to start off with UNH, United Healthcare, because it got added to the Goldman Sachs U.S. conviction list. A little bit of news on NVIDIA. The Pentagon announced this morning that it has secured agreements with 4 additional tech companies to deploy AI tools on classified military works. One of them was NVIDIA, NVDA. You look at shares in NVIDIA this morning; they're up. Trading up by $1.50 this morning. Not bad. In terms of guidance news, Amgen raised their full year 2026 adjusted EPS view to $21.70 to $23.10. Street estimate had it at $22.32. So it was kind of an uptick. Estee Lauder, ticker EL, they raised their full year 2026 adjusted EPS view. Now the consensus was $2.22. They raised it to $23.35 to $20. They raised it from $2.22 to $2.35 to $2.45. That's a nice uptick. EL, Estee Lauder. You look at the shares this morning of Estee Lauder, and they're up by 12%. Wow, nice move. Berkshire Hathaway, as I said, they're holding their shareholders meeting, starts tomorrow morning. In terms of buyback news, it's all about Apple. You do a 100 billion share buyback, that's one of the biggest ones you're going to see. So, Apple, nice buyback going on there. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about today's pick of the day. I don't really love anything. There's no real good earnings coming out after the bell today, and Monday morning's earnings, nothing really is standing out. But after the bell on Monday, you have ON Semiconductors. Stock's trading a little weak this morning, but earnings are due out Monday afternoon. EPS is 61 cents. Expected move is 12.71% on their release. And you look at yesterday's call volume, 16,172 calls traded to 3,714 puts. Very positive. Open interest, 110K to 85K on the put side. That's also positive. And the major brokers, they're raising price targets on semiconductor. So I like to see that. Now, I don't think, if I can get into it at a discount this morning, which is very possible, I think this is one that's going to start to run Monday morning. You're going to start seeing an uptick there. So, I'm looking for that entry price. I want to get in under $100, somewhere between 100, somewhere between $99.75 and $100.35 is kind of my range right now. It depends how we get closer to the opening. I'm going to be watching it like a hawk, because ON Semiconductor should start to see a pop Monday morning, ahead of those earnings announcements. So that's what I'm looking for my 1% gain. But that's my pick of the day, ON Semiconductors, ticker ON, Oscar Nancy. Okay, let's move on and let's talk about the stocks that are moving this morning in today's session, see what we see. IINN, Inspire Technology, secures a purchase order from Irish universities. Okay. Ooh, Iran gives Pakistan its latest proposal for U.S. talks. There it is. I just talked about it. Just hit the tape. GoodRx is offering an Ozempic pill for type 2 diabetes. United Airlines launches new in-flight channel featuring content from Peacock. Minneapolis Fed Bank President Neil Kashkari wrote on this morning that the heightened inflation risks from the Iran war led him to object to the Fed's policy statement that followed the meeting, because the statement implied that the Fed's next move is likely to be a cut. And he's like, no, I don't think so. This Iran war is causing inflation. And he's one of the brightest guys on the Fed. I mean, he really has a very, very solid background that he's one of the guys that really should have been in the running for Fed chair. CBOE to lay off 20% of its workforce. Titan return to office memo. Chevron says the Middle East conflict had little impact on production. Harley Davidson recalling 88,000 motorcycles in the U.S. due to an airbox backplate breather port that may be blocked. Meineke, DRVN, David, Richard, Victor, Nancy, an activist is making an offer for him. That's all I'm saying. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about our pick of the day from Thursday. Listen, it was a great one. I mean, we looked at Roku, ROKU. We said the data looks good, and the stock opened up at $112.86, and it fell down to $110.11. I got it at 111 something, 111.15 I think it was, and then it closed yesterday at $116.54. I made my 1% and walked away. But you look at the stock today; it's trading $124.75. I mean, yeah, this was a winner. Roku was a big winner yesterday. The stock's up 7%. I mean, you got to like Roku. The data all lined up, and I told you I liked the way it was looking. So Roku was a big winner. It was a big winner, a good pick of the day on Thursday. All right, traders, that concludes today's podcast. You guys know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.